everyone. Okay, let's talk dating. Ever feel like you're just stuck on a loop, connecting with the wrong people over and over again? Well, what if I told you the key isn't about them at all? It's about us. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of you and how understanding your own self-worth is basically the secret to building amazing relationships. Ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, so it all boils down to this one huge question. Maybe the toughest one we ever have to answer. Who am I? I know, it sounds super simple, right? But believe it or not, the answer you have for this question is running in the background, shaping literally every single interaction you have.
So, in psychology, there's actually a term for this personal answer. It's called your self-concept. The easiest way to think about it is like it's the story you tell yourself about yourself. It's made up of all those little beliefs you hold, Like, I'm a really good friend, or, ugh, I'm just so bad at math. This is the absolute foundation for everything we're going to talk about today.
All right, so who am I, really? Let's peel back the layers and see how we even start to build that answer.
Okay, so there's this really smart psychologist, Carl Rogers, who came up with a super helpful way to break this down. He said our self-concept is made of three key things. First up is your self-image. This is just how you see yourself, the facts, like, I am a pianist. Simple. Next, you've got self-esteem. This is the juicy part. It's how you feel about that fact. So it's not just I'm a pianist, it's I actually really like that I'm a pianist. And finally, there's your ideal self. The person you daydream about being, the version of you you're always trying to become. So here's the magic trick to feeling happy and confident. It's all about bringing those two things, your self-image and your ideal self, closer together. When the person you are is pretty close to the person you want to be, you feel awesome. You feel aligned. But when there's a huge gap between them, that's when we start to feel kind of meh, or just really dissatisfied with ourselves.
But wait, there's a plot twist. We don't just figure all this stuff out on our own, like sitting in a quiet room, meditating. Nope. We build our sense of self out in the real world, based on how other people see us. This isn't even a new idea. Way back in 1902, this sociologist, Charles Cooley, came up with something he called the looking glass self. And it's such a great way to think about it. It's like everyone in our lives, our friends, our family, our partners, they're all holding up mirrors to us. And the way they see us gets reflected back. And we kind of absorb that reflection into who we think we are. Crazy, right? So what this all means is that we're basically juggling two different kinds of identities all the time. Think of it like wearing different hats. You've got your personal identity, that's who you are at your core, your individual personality traits, like being creative or kind. But then you also have your social identity, which is the hat you wear in a group. It's you as a friend, you as a coworker, you as a sister, and we switch between these hats constantly without even realizing it. Okay, so we've got the self-concept stuff down. Now let's get to the juicy part, the science of attraction. How does all this internal work actually affect who we find attractive? And who finds us attractive? So when it comes to physical attraction, oh boy, things can get complicated and honestly a little frustrating. There's this super interesting conflict going on. Studies have actually shown that men are often naturally drawn to, well, curves. A French source called them rondeurs. But then you look at the media, right? And for decades, it's been pushing this one ideal of thinness, 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 thinness. So you end up with this massive disconnect between what people might actually desire and what so many women feel pressured to be. But attraction is so much more than just body type. It's also really, really strategic. I want to show you this fascinating study from 2004. Researchers asked almost 18,000 women a pretty simple question about what kind of male face they prefer. But there was a very clever twist. Here's the twist. They asked the women what they preferred for different kinds of relationships. And the results, honestly, they are wild. For a short-term thing, a little adventure, over half the women preferred a more traditionally masculine face. But for a serious, long-term relationship, the preference did a complete 180. A huge 66% preferred a softer, more baby-faced look. Isn't that incredible? It just proves that what we find attractive isn't set in stone. It's totally connected to what we're looking for at that moment. Okay, so we've talked about our self-concept and the science of attraction. Now it's time to put it all together and see how this actually impacts our dating lives and our self-worth. Okay, I want you to really let this next one sink in. It's from Tiny Buddha, and it might be the most important thing we talk about today. People will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. Just let that sit for a second. This idea right here is how your self-worth becomes your absolute superpower in dating.
So this leads to a pretty tough question, but it's such an important one. I want you to honestly ask yourself, what does my dating life say about how I treat myself? When you look at your dating patterns, do they reflect a person who truly, deeply values and respects themselves? Because so often, the quality of our romantic relationships is a direct mirror of the relationship we have with ourselves.
And here's why that mirror is so important. When our self-concept is a little wobbly or our self-esteem is in the gutter, it totally shows up in our dating habits. It looks like chasing after people who are clearly unavailable, or seeing a million red flags and just painting them green, or maybe not setting boundaries because deep down we're scared to ask for what we deserve.
Okay, wow. If any of that just hit a little too close to home, please hear this. You are not stuck there. The best part is you hold all the power to completely rewrite the script. So let's get into the good stuff. How to actually build healthier, happier connections.
And here is the mindset shift that will change everything for you. The key to transforming your dating life isn't about changing who you are. It's not about fixing all your supposed flaws to become more lovable. No way. It is all about honoring the incredible person you already are right now. So how do we do that? Here's your personal empowerment toolkit. First, get crystal clear on your healthy boundaries. What are your non-negotiables? Write them down. Then practice communicating your needs and expectations. It's not mean, it's necessary. Third, and this is a big one, know your worth and just stop settling for less. And you know what? Sometimes the best move is to take a little break, a dating detox, if you will, to just focus on yourself and rebuild that confidence. So we've covered a lot. We talked about the psychology of you, the science of attraction, and how it all comes together in your dating life. So I'm going to leave you with this one last question. Think back to that ideal self we talked about, the person you really want to be. What is one small, practical thing you can do, like today, to honor that person? That's it. The answer to that question, that's where your best life and your best relationships truly begin. Thanks so much for hanging out with me.